Can Magnus Carlsen pull off an equal endgame against Alireza Firouzja without calculating at all? This game comes from the Bullet Chess Championship on chess.com. The players each only have 1 minute on their clocks, 0 increment, so no bonus time per move. And watching these top players play bullet chess is a great way for us to learn what their intuition looks like. What moves do they instantly think of? So we have Magnus with white, Alireza with black, e4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, knight f3, knight c6. This is called the 4 knights game. With the e-pawns up, all 4 knights. Bishop b5, this is the Spanish variation when that bishop comes out to b5. And now it's the Rubinstein counter gambit. Are you having fun with the opening names yet? Exchange variation, e takes, e5. Pretty much what you need to know is this is called the 4 knights game. And we reached this position, which is a pretty heavily studied theoretical position, where now the best line is for the players to swap knights. We have take knight, queen takes f6, d takes c3. So here the dust finally settles a little bit. The material's equal. Each side has the exact same pieces, but there's a key difference. This pawn on d2 for Magnus is sitting on c3. So Magnus has doubled pawns, but the upside of that is it does allow this bishop to come out more quickly, whereas Alireza's bishop is blocked by a pawn. Bishop c5, threatening checkmate. You never know. Maybe Magnus falls for it in a bullet game. Queen e2 check. And here Alireza plays bishop to e7. Queen back to e7 was better. And this is an interesting dynamic because Magnus Carlsen is stronger than Alireza Firouzja in endgames. It's a strength for Magnus and a weakness for Alireza. He's had some pretty horrific endgames for a player at his level. So Alireza makes an inferior move, blocking with the bishop, just to avoid the queen trade. Castle, castle, rook e1, bishop c5, bishop to e3, and we see this theme again. Magnus saying, let's go to the endgame. I can take you down there, Alireza. And in this case, Alireza pretty much has to trade bishops. Queen takes back, pawn c6, attacking this guy on b5. Magnus retreats, pawn to d5, queen to e7, and look at this. Magnus offers a queen trade. Will we get to learn from the endgame master again, Magnus Carlsen, or will the time pressure in being in a bullet game against a bullet specialist in Alireza actually be the downfall of Magnus? So here Alireza has to trade queens. Queen takes, rook takes, and what Alireza would love to do is just develop that bishop. If that bishop can get developed, the position is equal, and from there he can fight for a win. But right now, Magnus just has this little tiny bit of pressure. If the bishop moves, there's rook takes b7. So Alireza plays rook to b8 to guard, getting ready to move the bishop. Pawn to f4. This is played on intuition, no calculation by Magnus, but it's a great idea. If bishop to e6, pawn to f5 is played, kicking that bishop, and the only square would be to move it right back to c8. So Alireza plays g6, guarding that f5 square. Rook a to e1, bishop e6. Finally, Alireza secures the bishop to e6 move, and the position is equal. Now, let me inform you, one player is going to win this game, but which player is it going to be? Which player can win in an equal endgame without any calculation? King f2 by Magnus, rook c8 by Alireza, pawn to h4. This is an AlphaZero type move. This is something that's been trendy in the last few years. And the idea is you just push this pawn up the board and it can create a lot of problems for the opponent's king. King to f8. Blunder by Alireza. Magnus set this trap. The idea is Alireza just wants to attack the rook. He's threatening to win the rook. Now, if you want to pause the video, try to find the brilliant move that Magnus played here. The brilliant move is rook 1 takes e6. Alireza thought the rook was trapped and Magnus said, I'm ready to sacrifice the exchange. And after pawn takes, now the rook does not take on e6. It takes on h7. This is a key point. When Alireza moved his king over to f8, it left this h-pawn undefended. The king was guarding the h-pawn. Now he is not. That's the key point. This rook cuts off the 7th rank. Both of these rooks are very passive, sitting on the 8th rank. Magnus is about to win the g-pawn, and then g and h pawns are running up the board very quickly. So let's see, what does Alireza do? king g8. Bishop takes g6. Materials equal. Like we mentioned, these rooks are really bad. Rook f8, king f3. Alireza is doing the right thing. He's going for activity. He's trying to get both of these rooks active. But look at this h-pawn coming up the board for Magnus. Passed pawns pose problems in the endgame. Remember that. Passed pawns pose problems. That's what Magnus is doing here. g3, defending this pawn, knowing that he still has the h-pawn that he can push later. e5, active play by Alireza. And what does Magnus do here? He plays rook to e7, an excellent move. It's threatening rook takes e5, and he's saying, be my guest. Take the pawn on f4. I don't care about that. Now, is Magnus in a little bit of trouble here? Giving up the pawn on f4, allowing these rooks for Alireza to get active down the f-file. He decides to play pawn to g4. He uses the f4 pawn as a shield for his own king. The king is now safer on f3 with the black pawn on f4 because these rooks cannot do any damage to the white king currently. Keep that in mind. When someone takes one of your pawns and you have the option to take back or push, don't always take back on autopilot. A lot of times it's better to push past. So Magnus uses the pawn as a shield. Rook d6, pawn to g5. Here come the connected passed pawns up the g and the h files. Pawn to d4. Alireza fights for counterplay. Good idea. Look what Magnus does. Same thing. He says, I'm not going to take. I'm going to push past. Plays pawn to c4. Always consider pushing past. Pawn to b5, bishop back to d3. Nice move by Magnus. B takes c can be met by bishop takes c4. That comes with a check. Magnus is playing super precisely, active play, and he's really trying to squash any of the counterplay from Alireza, who's an aggressive player. Rook f7. Magnus says, I will not trade on f7, but after rook f8, I will trade here. King takes f8, pawn to h6, and Alireza resigns right here. Even though he's up 1 point of material, he resigns. Let me show you why. After h6, king g8, g6, the g pawn is defended by the bishop, so black cannot do anything against these pawns. And let's say black tries to get active. There's king takes pawn, the king marches up, and let's say he grabs the a2 pawn. Now there's h2 followed by g2, checkmate. So Magnus Carlsen, in only 34 moves, smoothly takes down Alireza Firouzja from an equal endgame without calculation in a bullet game. 1 minute with no time on the clocks. So we're going to show you guys more of these equal endgames so that you can hopefully learn from them how to press your opponent. But drop a note in the comments. Let me know, what players do you want to see in upcoming videos? Thanks for watching. Please make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications, and we'll see you in the next video.